we have a public speaker.
Chris Hahn from
Hi, Chris. I
Mhm.
don't think we've met, so
Hello, Port Authority board members. We have not met. That's why I'm here today.
there you go.
My name is Chris Hine. I work for CETA. I'm the Southeast Minnesota Regional Manager for, which we like to call Region One. And the reason I'm here today was really to spend time with Kathy and, meet some of the people in the community and see how we can help Kathy and her work and see how we can do a better job supporting the work that's being done in your community. So I just wanted to introduce myself. You have my cards if you like cards as far as contact information. CETA has undergone transformation in the last probably 6 to 8 months. We have a structure now that actually is broken into multiple regions of the state of Minnesota. And within those regions, we have a team of people, and Kathy obviously is on my team that we work to support. So again, we just want to say thank you for supporting the work that we do and for allowing us to be active in the community with that. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris?
Which brother you are?
Why do you want a
Oh,
5% increase?
whose brother he is?
Why do you want a 5% increase?
Yeah.
I'll answer the brother one first. My brother's at.
Oh.
So that's my younger brother, my little brother, yeah.
That's not gonna get you anywhere here.
Yeah, actually, is that good? Yeah. So,
We like Ed, but you've got to earn your own spot.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
As it relates to 5% increase, that's a planning number that we use, as you know, most organizations, most businesses have a planning number between 3 or 5% annual increases each year. Our goal is to come in under that, but from a planning standpoint, we use a 5%. So,
So you drew it out of a hat, so.
no, it's actually an established planning number.
All right, very good.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Any other public comment? Nobody online?
Chuck's online. Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. All right, let's move on. Consent agenda. We have the May.
Do we, this isn't on there, but we should talk about additions and corrections.
Oh, okay, so let's talk about additions and corrections to the agenda.
Yep.
And
So, additions have been that I will talk in detail about the change order that I received from AMI under number 2. And then, Kathy has, I had missed this, but under old business 5.5, we're gonna add housing trust fund creation. And then Kathy noted that the links weren't working under old business 3, so she's emailed me the link so that I'll be able to show you guys that during the meeting. So just in terms of an item 5.5 housing trust fund creation.
And under new business, Caroline, you're doing, number 2 is for our invoice?
No, that's just, there's
Change order?
additional information,
Oh,
so that doesn't change on the title, just
Okay.
new information's been added that we'll review.
do that under,
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to
6.2.
change anything, I'll just. We got the final design costs. 15 minutes ago.
I don't know, that figures.
I think I got a minute for number 6.
No surprise. Okay. All right, so we have a change to the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda with change. We'll move. But first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign. All right, let's move on. Consent agenda. 5 items. May 2025 Port Authority minutes. May Port Authority financials. Barge terminal city staff invoice. Braun Intertech. There's 2 invoices for Braun in there, did I see, or maybe not? Approve invoices for survey work for Cannon Lot and Main Street Lot.
And then, oh, yeah, this was added this afternoon, the Coner invoice,
Oh, yep,
yeah, 507, so that was another additional correction.
Okay, well, how much is that for?
So that is the one where we're basically a pass-through to the Army Corps, so the total amount is $908,254.76. Once we receive the check from the Army Corps, then we pay that bill.
And it's
So-
the same amount then, it's the Army Corps, they knew that. Okay.
Pay it more.
They pay us more than that.
Okay,
We're at,
can you
Yeah.
tell me that number again so I can write it down?
908,254.76.
908,254.76.
To be clear, that has not come in yet, but when it does come
Yeah.
in,
Raise.
Yes,
Okay.
let me look up how much we're billing the Army Corps quickly. Okay, that's
Since
not
they put it
working,
at 30 on there.
but it's, it roughs out that we net every time. Let me look up that information,
Yeah.
because I'm on when you go to Chrome, you can't access our server, so I will get you that info before the end of the meeting,
So
so.
that brings up a question. So last May, we paid $690,000 to Corners. So is that part of the 900,000 or is that in addition to the 900?
In addition to,
addition. That was for the last haul, this is for the haul that they've just finished.
there was two payments, so we are billing the Army Corps $1,083,358, and then the invoice for them is 908,254, so I can just do some,
It's close enough.
yeah. It's about $100,000.
How much sand is that? So, yes, 175,93,24.
Yeah, 100. This one is for 76,000 cubic yards at a rate of 1193 per cubic yard, which we agreed to them, and so the total is 908,254.76. And then our overall rate for the Army Corps, just to go over that one more time, is $14.23. So we charge a couple dollars in each amount for admin costs.
There's a big pail of sand.
A lot of stuff, alright. So we have consent agenda, the 6 items. Motion to approve.
So move.
First, we have a second,
Second.
first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jeff?
Now, let me see if he's muted.
Oh, I'm not supposed to be able to vote since I wasn't noticed properly for the agenda.
I think we're gonna be okay, so go ahead.
That's not.
Aye.
Tyler's
Aye.
fault, I think I did it, I said, Tyler, we can't just be online, we have to give notice, and we
Yeah.
also have to have public comment, so it's not Tyler's fault.
Right.
He's told me that before too.
So, okay, so opposed, say no. Passes, alright, old business, CETA Director's Report, that's you, Kathy.
Yeah, who was the first and second on the consent agenda?
Craig and Dave.
Craig and Pete, thank you. I just didn't want Tyler to take heat for something that he didn't do. CETA Director's Report, so did you guys get a chance to look at it? I don't need to go through everything. I think that I am basically just summarizing in the director's report things that we've worked on. I don't have questions when I'm doing that. I think one of the things I wanted to mention is the deed lead. They are no longer pending, they've just pulled their site selection, so, just an FYI on that.
On the dredging summary, there's a whole lot of dredging here and all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation what dredging in the school
No.
would cost?
No, what that was for is, so the director's report is one thing, and then we can go into the next piece. So after the director's report, yes, I did do a dredging summary, so I just made sure you guys had a copy of that. So Caroline was, and I were talking back and forth about projects that there was some dredging done in other communities, and I guess, you know, one of the things you can see is that this Brennan is a company that really has done a lot of dredging in the area. Also, what I did is just give examples of different, dredging that's been done, projects that have been successful. And, some were even Olmsted County, I mean, there was pictures on the website of, them in the city of Rochester's river pulling out, dredging, so Elcor had done that one. So just in case you have to do the slough or anything like that, there are some other local people. And so, yeah, I just did this research to give it to Caroline, after we discussed it. And then, I've given to the deputy clerk the idea of doing a roundup program for Park and Rec. So you do, Tyler checked for me, and you do have a component within your, billing system that you could just round it up. So the most you could ever round up is 99 cents a month, which comes out to like $11.88. So your donation isn't huge as a person in the city, but you could still round up. And, you know, if you have 800 people rounding up
Round up
$9.
your sewer and water bill.
Yeah, you just round up your bill, and then the idea is the utility company would do like a partial match, I said maybe like $7.50. And then they could use that for matching grants, later on, but it makes the community feel like they have a part in some of this, and all they have to do is round up. And if anyone's ever been on People's Energy Co-op, you're familiar with the fact that they do a roundup program, and then they give out grants. Well, we don't need to make it that complicated, we don't need a bunch of nonprofits looking for grants if we round up, you know, $2,000. But you could use it for your Park and Rec program. So
So it's voluntary.
it's voluntary, and I don't need you to take action on it, because actually, Jess is taking it to the utility company to see if they wanna do anything with it. So just an FYI, is all that is. Same thing with the Watch newsletter, because the June and July meetings would be changed up. I just sent them out information about, combining meetings, the photo contest. How things are going as far as like, have we heard about our homegrown infill lot program, which we haven't? City lot sales were coming, kind of did a picture of River Crossing and what we were doing there. Just some real, shared CETA annual meeting with all the Watch members as well as with you guys. So July 31st from 10 to 1, CETA will be in Winona this year, which is really close. I mean, we were gonna actually be up in Ely now that I think about it. And it's a great time for any of you to register, so there's a link on that Watch newsletter to go ahead and register. You can be guests of CETA for some information, lunch. Caroline, you've attended before, I think Tyler's going to this year. Anything you wanna add to that?
No, that we've always found it useful, and you get ideas from what other communities are doing, so if anyone's available, I recommend attending. I think hopefully I'm registered. I tried to register, so.
Chris, if you wanna pull up that registration, Caroline was wondering if she was registered. And we just got sent that today, so oddly we can check.
Okay,
In the director's report, there's copies of both the resolutions that you voted for, they both got supported, BDPI and LMC. The BDPI is for half the road at the port, that could be up to a $748,000 grant if we got it. Because of last month's meeting, we also put in like an input sheet, so you could see what those, what the input information is for listing the Cannon lot. Also what the survey looks like, input sheet for the, Main Street lot, which we'll come to that a little later, as well as the, Main and Market parcel. So you have a copy of what that parcel actually looks like, if you needed to share that. In the director's report, we, Caroline had mentioned she didn't think that the provider that the county was, trying to license would get into the new Head Start building. And so we did some marketing, some social media, they got 4 people to vet, and they've already decided to, work with Skylar, who was traveling all the way to Rochester, and she'll be opening up that room. I did write to Jean to see when that would happen, but she didn't give me the exact date. She'll have to get some licensing from here in this county. And she showed me that there was a possibility of a second room. So then I shared a grant with her and said, if you can get a bathroom in that room, maybe you can even open a second childcare center. So that's 10 more openings that Skylar is going to bring you, and then there could be a second one. If the building owner will let Jane put a bathroom in right next to their office, next to Three Rivers. So it's neat space.
and
And then
kudos to Kathy, because, yeah, I just planted the seed, I was like, we can't, the space was sitting vacant with equipment. And just nothing was occurring, and the time is ticking on this lease, because they've already been paying for the space 6 months into the year. So Kathy got it out, and so now this person still has to go through licensing, but hopefully it'll go well, and they got 4 interested people, so.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
It's a big deal. That's great.
After your administrator's report, then we can bring up the livability website and photo contest information, so you can see kind of where people are clicking, how many clicks you're getting, and then you can see some of the contest submissions.
Pretty
You're
good.
on, you are registered.
okay, great,
Any
Can I ask
questions?
a comment?
It's Tyler.
yes.
Tyler Graboff.
So my comment is, so we got this 46-page document. And we have a few days to look at it, plus the weekend, but people have stuff going on the weekend sometimes. So I went through this and I had a hard time keeping focused on what you're trying to present.
I'm kind of summarizing what I've been doing during the days that I'm here. It's nothing for voting or anything. It's just keeping you on track. So last time where you didn't see like the main and market parcel, I kind of felt bad. I was like, oh, well, you haven't seen the parcel, but it went through and the street was vacated and stuff. So I'm like trying to put more in for you so you guys are kind of up to date on everything we're working on all month long.
Well, what it does is it kind of makes my head spin.
Me too sometimes.
There's a lot of stuff there. It's hard to focus on what, do you have something you want to emphasize in that?
No,
So
No.
it's all just general information.
it's just general information, so you're up to date on the projects we've been working on and where the hours of time is spent.
And then the grant submission status, did you write all these grants, or there's something the two of you do, Carolyn? And you work with Carolyn on these grants, all of these?
I think I wrote, those are, look and see, USDA.
So some of the grants in her report we submitted for, and some of them are informational
Coming up,
that they're
okay,
open,
okay.
but I'll run through.
But honestly, I think those, everything except for the redevelopment in August are all, we're waiting to hear from. It was really busy grant season between the end of February and the end of May.
We're not doing anything with T-Mobile or Smith right now,
Yeah.
but that was up for discussion, I guess, so.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
We should talk, but,
Smith is easier, but T-Mobile is.
Yeah. okay. All right,
Very good. Thank you. You're next.
okay, so, and I think part of it is like. Kathy and I have different communication styles, so she's writing with her format. I'm not gonna reformat it to how I would write something. We're just copying. So if it seems like there's 2 authors for the agenda, there is, with Kathy giving me her items and I'm doing my items and Tyler might do an item. So I don't know if somebody wants it done differently or, but
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's how we do council agendas. There's multiple styles represented there. So, okay, administrative report. So this last amount is 175,000 in income for the city of Wabasha, just on this last check added to the prior one. And so we had a good meeting that Chuck attended, Don, Eric, our new contact for the Army Corps, that they are potentially interested in sending sand to Milwaukee by train. And the Army Corps is gonna get back to us on how they wanna address this from a contractual perspective. Cause if they wanna work through the section 217D and put us as the managers, we will still have our administrative fee to be in charge and it would go through you guys. If they just wanna contract with the Coners to send sand to Milwaukee, then I was told Mike Flaherty needs to look at our agreement, because right now, I believe once the way it writes, we kind of are in charge of the sand, but the Coners are moving it. So we would have to kind of be okay with that. But they have so many unknowns, like they said that Milwaukee still needs to organize this, how they're gonna accept the sand, like they've calculated that they could get the sand to a certain point. But Milwaukee has to logistically figure out how they're gonna unload all that sand and get it to where it needs to go. So it was just kind of high level, there's nothing more to do. The commander is coming in July. And so then we're gonna just have a general meeting, but I'm basically like, it would be great if this worked out, but I'm not gonna put effort into researching it. It's just an opportunity where I think what it is the Army Corps knows that has like a broader goal to how to kind of have good reuse for their sand. And so they published like a 50-page research report that I've read some of, which is just like they'd like to continue to figure out how can they get the sand to where it could be used. And Milwaukee needs a lot of sand. For a port project that they're working on, where they're doing a bunch of remediation work and contamination cleanup work, and they need sand, so
How much sand?
I think like 500,000 cubic yards of sand.
So that's like. 2
So we
years.
wouldn't fulfill their whole need, or it would be over 5 years.
It's like 2 years.
Chuck, are you? Did I get that right? Was it 500 cubic yards, 500,000?
It's two-phase thing.
Okay,
To complete the surrounding barrier around this mitigation site, which is out in Lake Michigan, by the way. They need 300,000 yards. That would be
Okay.
over 2 years. And then over the next 5 years, they would need 200,000 tons total to cover up whatever crud they put in that mitigation site. So it's a total of 500.
okay. All right. So,
Gonna be hauled from here to Milwaukee.
yeah.
Train, but do we get the tipping?
Wow.
on that?
That's the discussion. I mean, are we gonna be the pass through?
Where the pass-through will have a charge.
Yeah.
because-
Yeah.
But I would think,
Cause that's still, like, I was like, okay, do the train workers need to submit us payroll? Are they following Davis Bacon? And no one knew, but anyway, those are just some of the things that
well,
we do.
so they're gonna drop it off at the barge terminal?
I think the question was, once we get our barge terminal built, could we get it from the barge terminal onto a train?
So it'd have to be trucked back and forth.
Well, they could convey it too.
Or can
Convey
they
it,
convey
yeah.
It could be conveyed. I think first things first. Yeah.
Let's build it.
Yeah,
Milwaukee might have 5 years of research on this given our experience.
right. So,
I think really asked in the meeting, when do you wanna do this project? I thought they said 2027. Chuck, was it? Chuck,
Well, they actually said 2026, but I've looked
Oh.
over that document that you may have referred to that we just got from the Corps,
yeah,
and it doesn't help at all. It doesn't tell us anything we didn't already know, other
Oh.
than what they're looking at, the Corps, that is. I guess probably the Milwaukee Port Commission more so. They've somehow mysteriously figured out regarding a cost related to a US EPA, I don't know what it is, of taking quarry sand and using it at 47 something a cubic yard. And the question is, can we do the core sand for less cost? And of course, what bugged me a whole lot was they didn't even look at moving it there by barge. You're going to say, well, that's a long ways to go because you got to go all the way to St. Louis and then back up the Illinois River. But you stop and think about it, it may not be as expensive as they think it is. Bottom line, they've got a lot of work to do on this. They don't have all our numbers together at all.
okay, thanks, Chuck.
Yep.
So I'm glad Chuck was there, he's got a mind for this, as do the Coners. They said they have experience getting sand on trains, so. This is one of the things where I'm like, I didn't know this is what I'd be signing up for, but here we are. So,
you dream about sand.
I know.
Barges.
Mayor Ed, I did finally get an update today. Jamie, our environmental officer, had an unexpected death in the family. She said that, and Emily may be familiar with this too, there's the environmental assessment level. And if certain things are flagged in your environmental assessment, then it levels up to environmental impact statement, which requires a lot more work. So the way that Bolton and Mink did the environmental assessment was using language like, you know, instead of no effect, like something else. Anyways, it made them wonder, should this really have been kicked up to a further level of review because of what they found in the environmental assessment? Or do we just need to tweak that language? And so Jamie is working with the legal department over there at the Department of Transportation to let us know what would be the next steps. And I just put in parentheses, it's been 6 months since we submitted that. And then got some edits back over to Merit on the grant agreement, and I'm just trying to make sure everything's in order to get that approved. For the apartment project, a couple things, we are not moving ahead yet because 2 things. One is the original way that the engineers designed the engineering for the alley was that it was just gonna handle the stormwater for the building. And we're requesting that since they're redoing the alley anyways, they upsize some drains and look at engineering it to handle the stormwater for the entire alley. So that cause there's been some water pooling issues, so we think it makes sense, but it's continue to be like, okay, we're still engineering the project. And then the other thing is the bank is still waiting on the MPCA basically clearance letter to finalize the loan. And then since we last met, this is what Kathy and I were discussing. We've submitted 2 grants to help pay for the phase 2 of the athletic field, one for the EPA. But we would have to hire their contractor, so Kathy and I aren't sure if we're gonna actually take that grant because we like working with Brown Intertech, but we submitted it. And then deed to help cover the phase 2 athletic costs. And then also for the apartment project, we submitted a grant to cover that vapor mitigation system. And then I will talk later about a grant submitted for the Market Street property for public infrastructure. Since there's gonna be these additional stormwater costs, we went ahead and pursued a grant that may help cover those additional costs. And the city had committed TIF dollars to the public infrastructure with the apartment project. And if we get this grant, we can take out our TIF dollars, save the city some funds that we could spend elsewhere and use that grant instead. They're gonna be doing test pits at the old athletic field. June next Wednesday, Thursday. And then we did not get the bonding bill for the Highway 60. No one really got the bonding bill except for a couple projects that got in there. And then, but we are now working, Craig and others participated in a second release of the request for qualifications for an engineering firm. So we've tentatively selected somebody and we'll take that to council to approve. And now I'm just in the middle of kind of negotiating those costs for the engineering for Highway 60. And then there was sort of a reveal during the meeting that there seems to be kind of some challenges where there's 3 levels of bureaucracy. And so we learned that the city didn't actually have to maybe re-release that RFQ, but someone at MnDOT thought we did because they're trying to interpret the federal regulations. And so that was frustrating, but we had a good discussion at the end, and Emily was on the line of, we're kind of behind on getting this highway built for the federal grant, and so we're just gonna all need to keep working together and prioritizing the project. So do you want to add anything from that?
No, I mean, it's just unfortunate, I guess, you know, like I said, you know, our MnDOT partner may not wanna stick in my out and kind of have a quarrel about procedural stuff, but I will. You know, we really shouldn't have lost those 6 weeks, unfortunately. I wish we'd gotten that info from MnDOT, that they thought it was fine. I mean, they got an email that it was fine,
There you go. Okay, any questions for Caroline so far? Are we hearing none? Let's move to the next item, maybe, here we go. Status of livability, website photo contests.
Okay, Kathy, here's the entries to that have been submitted. You want me to just double click on those?
Click on them so people have a little idea because their links weren't open. Yeah. So we are getting pictures and they're very nice.
Sure.
It's gonna be hard to pick and we need to know how to pick. Like if there's certain people that wanna be part of the committee.
Yeah, I'll just-
choosing.
I'm gonna just click on it.
With people, they're not claiming livability.
I know, there are some.
Here's a kid
Okay.
with some pumpkins.
Pumpkin.
Here's some trees and someone making a heart.
I took a video of the pool, I'm gonna submit it just because I thought.
Here's some black and white photos of buildings.
What's the theme again?
Here's the bridge. We just said
Categories.
any of the categories,
Anything.
some bridge pictures,
Yeah.
yep.
I mean, they're pretty pictures, but I don't know how they really promote livability. I mean, they're seeing.
Yeah, there's
They're
not
very
many with
busy
people in it.
church.
Oh, here's a bunch of people in it.
Okay, there you go. There, yeah.
So, like-
That's more like it.
Those are the kind of pictures I think you're
Yes.
both looking
Yeah.
for, but
Yeah.
when you get submissions like the sunset and stuff, you can use them anywhere in the city website, so.
Cause we have the right to use all the submissions even if they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
I don't know if there's a way when we announce, hey, 2 more weeks before the deadline, looking for people with pictures of people in them, but, you know,
I think we'll end up
Living.
with plenty,
okay.
yeah.
How about the statistics of the website? That's a quick link to that was just not live in your meeting packet. And it shows you your city website and the livability, what people are clicking on.
It's just loading.
Oh,
Um,
but you should be able to look at this yourself from now on and we wouldn't have to go over it. But you'd see where the most clicks are if you zoom in on that, but there's been already like 1,300 clicks just in May. And
So
you would
this
never
is-
think that.
just for the whole website, right, Kathy?
This was the website, yeah, the whole website is what she said, but then it also shows the livability tab, which ones they were clicking on.
Okay.
It's
so
not
here-
really, this isn't really. Every month, you can have a copy of this in your packet, and you can just click on it. And make sure that you see what's most important that people are looking up.
Right.
Okay,
Is it childcare, is it housing, what is it that they're actually looking at? Or you can even see that they clicked on that, on the photo contest. So it's nice if Jill, she had to send us one link and we can use it every month, the same link.
okay.
Over time, that'll be helpful,
It's good data.
yeah.
I think
Yeah, it's
everything
good,
should have some data to back it up.
Okay,
very good. Listing Cannon Park parcels.
Okay. so, so Mike Flaherty recommended a deed restriction be added to the claim deed. He's our city attorney. So I've got that language and then the Cannon park lot should be listed soon. I had asked Tony to look into this and he said he kind of gave me something from Amazon that we could just order for $30. I think were people envisioning like a custom sign for the city of Watershed, then I think we would probably want to work with a specific
I can help
sign
with that.
company.
I can help with that. Vistaprint is amazing. It's not expensive.
Okay,
I didn't get custom sign. I don't think it should be like a.
No, it has to be custom, yeah.
okay. Vistaprint, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then, so that'll be listed on the MLS, for 30,000. And then,
How are you listing the Main Street parcels there?
And then that's what I wanted to discuss, which is, I think. As I was looking into grants, there is a grant, available that we applied for kind of tentatively. That if the city were to acquire the lot that Richard Counter owns on Main Street and add utilities access there,
Where is that?
we
On Main
could
Street.
get
Above it.
He's on.
funding
He's
for
up-
that.
He's up on
Okay.
Yeah.
above it.
It's behind.
Yep. So there's an opportunity then that we could combine lots and probably have a better parcel, because then there's some options to build where you're not in the floodplain. And so the thing is that I had talked to a local builder a while back about looking into these lots before I knew there were funding available, and I think he remains interested in them. So what I'm thinking is, and I'm kind of looking at you, Robin, you know, do we wait and see the outcome of the grant if something works out with the builder? Cause obviously we don't want to get involved if there's a builder. But I do know, talking to Pat, to get a water line access to that parcel, you still need to build a water line on Market Street. That's where the access is gonna be. So the grant proposed that we get a grant for the city to acquire the lot, combine it with our parcel and add water and sewer lines and cover that through the grant.
There's no water on Main Street?
No,
No.
there's not.
How does it, how do I?
It cuts off and goes over to the, before it gets,
So,
but it's right at the bottom of Market, it goes right to the lot, it's just 10 feet off the road.
so we won't know about this grant until I'm told late this year. So I guess there's two options, is one, we wait. I think that's what council thought was best, actually. Or we can go ahead and list it and just see, you know, if anyone's willing to build without it. I think the advantage I saw is, just not having kind of, having an opportunity for, I guess, a higher and best use once you combine it.
Can I ask the realtors in the room, what do they think is the possibilities for the Main Street parcel as it exists now?
Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about it and we felt like mirroring what's across the street would be very doable.
You think you can get those on 50 feet?
We do.
Well, yeah,
And
certainly
without
because
the extra lot behind.
you vacate part of the road so we could be closer to the road. I think it's really doable,
I do.
but if we could get that Market Street lot,
So I've reached out to the seller because his POA has been in touch with me. She asked me to do a market analysis for the house, the abandoned building and the lots, all of it,
Yep.
okay? I told her 200,000 for everything, okay? So I said, are you asking for this because a Wabasha builder is reaching out to you? And she said, yes. I talked to him and asked him, I told him I was at a wedding where he was, and he said, yeah, but they're not getting back to me. And then he asked me to share their information with him, their
Mhm.
contact information, which I never do without someone's permission, okay? I'm not giving,
right,
she reached out to me, I'm not sharing her contact information. And then Kathy said, we might be interested, and so I'm like, well, I definitely am not sharing her contact information. So he's in no hurry to sell. Okay, he thinks he's sitting on $1 million
Yeah.
property.
all right,
Only because he's been told the tin house is historical. It's the tin house. It's something that we wanted to put on the register as a.
It should be torn down, it's just a little.
Right. It's a tin house that was.
It will never qualify for national registry.
Okay, good. Well, we talked, you know, Mary Crosby got that on registered.
It has no significance architecturally or.
this, there's nothing significant about that.
Okay,
So that being said, we probably should try to. Well,
I mean, our lots become a lot more valuable with that land.
Right.
But how much more valuable? I mean, is it enough to pay the money that he needs? And maybe, I mean, right, exactly.
With the grant, I think we can.
With
do
a
it.
grant, yeah,
Yeah.
with a grant, for sure.
So, but we won't know about that grant till the end of the year.
And since he's in no hurry, I won't pass on his information to anybody and we'll just see what happens.
so you just wanna
That's a
kind
train of thought.
of just wanna,
He's never gonna sell unless he gets.
Well, his POA is
Yeah.
the one that.
gonna make that decision probably.
Hmm.
think you sell it as is to somebody that's willing to build on it. To specs and get it over with,
Well, and
cause the
truthfully,
road's coming in, I mean, you gotta get the water and sewer in, cause they're redoing the
but
market.
can you get the water and sewer in?
Yeah,
Oh, you can't.
But, yeah,
so
without-
this
but they're
year,
redoing.
going into next year, there, I think the Market Street will occur next year, so in
Yeah.
2026. We will, no matter what, add water there, cause we're
Just-
digging in there anyways.
Yeah,
And I would love to have a grant to help pay for that,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
if we don't, we're gonna do it regardless. And so in 2026, we should have a water connection.
Yeah.
But I told Pat, like, if we knew that we created the parcels and someone wanted to hook in, like, that's their front yard is on Market Street or their front door, then we could go ahead in that project and add sewer as well. Add a sewer water connection over there as well, cause right now, if you build down there, your water's coming off of Market and then your sewer's coming off Main. So, I don't know, I think if this group felt like, let's just go ahead and list it and see what happens, I think the council was not terribly strong either way, I
We
mean,
didn't really have that conversation.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have an opinion about that.
It's
That
not
was
a
the
big-
discussion. The discussion was, do we apply for the grant?
yeah,
And the answer was yes.
okay.
we've got enough.
Well, then
money
maybe we need to
time
give-
into it now, why don't we just take it, get out of it, what we got into it, and let somebody go on. If they're interested.
If we could get the grant to buy the property from Counters, we could sell the house because
Yeah,
we don't need the house
no,
for the project. So, I mean, it could be actually a pretty good deal for the city. Could be a little
have
more.
you seen those inside?
No, but I mean, you could
It's
sell it
just-
for
it's-
something,
yeah.
Well, it's
still
worth
something,
a
yeah.
couple hundred.
maybe 125. I
Well,
don't
they're
know.
giving.
Yeah, I
what
mean,
they're
she
getting
said,
Homes is,
but she said nothing has been done
yeah,
for several years.
since it's
So,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I can
so-
tell you that. Okay, so then it sounds like we should probably maybe just table or hold off on Main Street until we see what the grant does, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess we could also list it as we wait on the grant and then just turn back the money, you know, I don't.
Some of them, I mean, I think that.
I think it would give, if we listed it right now, we'd get it sold.
Oh,
Someone
for
would
sure.
build it. Someone would do something with it, but is that the most prudent thing to do if there's an opportunity? I guess that's our big question.
Something
Well, I'm wondering if that, you got a big hill there, so. How are you you're going from a low area to a high area, and it's a steep descent. So is that feasible to build on, how are you gonna do that? Without building walls and all kinds of.
Let's look at all the houses.
County has an ordinance on, you have to be so far away from the slope. I don't know if the city, it's in their zone. County, you can't build, against the hillside,
Yeah,
Do you
I don't
want all of this?
but you got
or just-
fiber optic in the alley. I looked at it, I scoped it, I thought, I never, anything, but
Craig, just think about the houses at like Franklin Second, Barton Sandy's and Dar Tyson's and, those are all like well level up the street.
I don't know if that's the greatest use of.
so what's our consent?
I think I try to draw a map for this grant, so if I can pull that up, I could at least show everyone what we were thinking, but again, it's very tentative, oh, shoot, I can't get this, it's just not as working, okay, sorry.
Do you
Okay.
want to buy it, if you were faced with an opportunity to spend 200,000 and you got a $40,000 grant, you'd still have to be 160,000. Or do you just wanna let the free market go buy it from him? You know, that's another consideration is if you buy the $23,000 lot, then maybe you're calling up Robin to find out what the POA is and you say, okay, well, I'm willing to spend another 200,000. And I'll keep the house and I'll keep all the land, but that's assuming that it would get parceled into 2 parcels.
That's-
It's 3 parcels.
Three.
Okay, that's good. So do you let the free market just go buy it from?
do we wanna get involved in another one of these deals? When we do all this work. Carolyn, you want to take that one?
Well, I applied for the grant because I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
it
No,
made
yeah,
Well, yeah,
sense. I wouldn't get involved if it
If
wasn't
there wasn't a grant.
adjacent
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
I
our
agree.
parcel, and so, yeah, we won't know the outcome of the grant for a while, and I'm open to listing the lot now and see what happens, and then we have more information. Or I think we waited how many years? I don't know, 20, so we could wait another 6 months and see what happens with the Market Street parcel. Emily, what's your thoughts?
One opportunity is that the free market means that somebody buys those three parcels and it does nothing to it. And for a much better solution, it costs time, it costs the
I agree.
involvement of our staff, but if somebody buys that and it just sits like that, then.
It doesn't become another taxpayer, it doesn't do
A
us.
wonderful part of town to live in, I can see that being very desirable as it is, and so, you know, but also we can make it a better solution than it is.
Cause I
Or
did.
Provide a builder with an
I
option.
was asked the other day, I think people were troubled that a lot of the parcels out on River Drive, someone bought it for their lot, and they're like, can the city force someone creating a plat to only allow people to build? And I'm pretty sure that, no, that's their rights, cause Bill Fitzgerald owns all that land, spent the money to plat it, you know, I don't think we can say add a restriction that he, as the owner, are you thinking?
You can absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, I was asked about that. I wasn't aware, but
Yeah. Byron has done that, Rochester has done that, I mean, they want things developed, and they, like, there are developments where. Empty lots that.
okay.
And then it has something to do with the public infrastructure too. If you run water or
Correct.
sewer to it, it's
Mhm.
supposed to be a lot.
Well, that's another piece of this, is we're running a really expensive utility improvement on that street for sure in 2026. There are very few parcels to assess. Some of them I think were already assessed, so they're out, so that's what Brian said, there's like $1 million stretch of utility work, road work that's gotta be done with that. So
Yeah,
it
it's just
would be
awful.
awesome to recoup that over the long term with a good product, you know, hopefully.
Correct.
Like everyone keeps saying, like something across the street, which has been such a good solution for that. And the
We
Main
just
Street.
listed one for 309,000 sold it for sale in the market,
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
I think we should list the markets, I mean, the Main Street property. I think it's a waste of time and resources to just keep going on and on, hoping some guy's gonna sell the land.
I agree. And I think if we do sell it, Mr. Conner isn't very happy that we are doing something down there. It's gonna devalue his property. I mean, if you have a walkout and you got 3 little houses down in front of you, he knows that, cause. Mr. Lecter, you tell him, and he was upset that we were gonna do something, so I think we go ahead and list it.
So this question is this 337 foot long parcel, I just. Certificate of survey just got that, has that been divided into 3 parcels?
No, that would not be divided. That's. I mean, I guess someone would have to propose, they wanted to divide it, but that's what we would be selling. So,
We listed with some contingencies or some reminders that there's grant funding may or may not come.
mhm.
We get it out publicly now, is that the goal?
I think I'm more in Emily's camp where I feel like if somebody buys it, they're gonna buy it cheap and they're gonna do nothing. with
I
it.
know,
It's
it's-
just gonna sit there.
If we can get out of it, we'll fix our expenses in it, it'll be good. I mean, if they can get 2 on there, I think you're pushing for more, if you
Do you
can.
have to prove what's being built there before you sell it to them?
Well, you have to meet all the variances, and you have to get variances from
Are
there's
you
people.
going to, are you gonna put a?
I think the plan is to take each offer to the city. but-
Yeah, and it'll have to be, something will have to happen there within a time, certain, a set time period, otherwise. We'll take it back.
What,
You know,
is that
I mean,
going to the deed restrictions?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's what that is. It's like something has to be built within, or a permit has to be pulled within 6 months and construction within a year.
If you get 2 offers, you're gonna go with highest and best use probably, right? So-
Yeah.
okay, Mary Craig, Robin sounds like she says wait.
I think it
Dave-
makes more sense financially, but I'm not gonna be opposed to it
Yeah.
if that's what people decide.
Dave and Jeff said, let's go ahead and list it.
I'd rather wait too. I think that if we can guide what's gonna be developed there, if you want those apartments or something else with a bigger space. Otherwise, is it just room for little tiny houses like the rest of the block?
Tiny homes, yeah, or is what we're
Our
thinking.
housing needs, tiny homes.
Is that
or
what's-
we need apartment dwellings? I mean, I don't know.
No,
You know what, that $309,000 townhome sold quickly, it must be.
One day.
So there's a
One
need
day.
for, there's
One
one
day.
day for that type of housing.
Yeah.
Mayor, what's your thought?
I just think it was right to pursue the opportunity for the grant, because if we can resource a better option for whichever builder takes hold of this site, and I thought we've all agreed from the beginning. Wouldn't it be nice to have that other lot, because that just provides so much more opportunity, the floodplain piece is it's a tricky deal, so. It feels like we're making it harder. For a builder who might be prepared to develop a larger site. But not prepared to quickly jump on the Main Street site as is, I don't know, it feels like we can kind of steer that.
Well, what's in it for us to sell it right now?
Exactly, I can tell you what we lose is a significant tax basis, you know? If you get a better product there, if you get $600,000-900,000 for real estate on that versus tiny homes, which are needed, and I'm not opposed to tiny homes, that is a tiny home neighborhood and I love it, but in terms of a tax implication. There's been a lot of investment on Second Street, three new homes.
Yeah.
In the last 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
so. I don't want it to be as is in 20 years.
I'm compelled to sit on it for a little bit and wait and see what
If we don't get the
happens.
grant, can we revisit the conversation?
Exactly, I'd say if the grant gets rejected, it's a clearly sell it and get what you can get.
Just walk away, yeah.
Yeah.
And then whoever's situated in that Main Street parcel, if they need the counter parcel, they're gonna have to deal with that privately.
So what if the landowner on market never wants to sell?
Should have room for apartments, so.
Well, I think for sure
We
the
can turn back the grant.
Howard's attorney will. I don't think Mr. Counter I don't even know that he's,
Capable of making,
Making
well,
that
obviously,
decision.
he's got a POA, he's not capable.
right,
He's signed off to
she's the
make
one.
his financial decisions, so.
In the 80s, he's in his 80s, so.
Yeah.
I think probably late.
So do we need to vote on this? What do we wanna do? I think we have a bit of majority consensus that we wanna sit on it for. Kind of see what the grant comes up with and what happens with the neighbor.
I don't know if, yeah, I will remind everybody, we did put out a letter of interest for the Main Street property. Back before we were very organized and stuff. And we really didn't get anything that moved forward at that time, cause as people investigated it, the bar was pretty high. However, now we're a bit more organized and we've actually got a plat with as much land as possible, so.
And you just asked, what are we supposed to do? I think you could just give staff direction that the majority would like to see highest and best use to provide a builder with opportunity. Wait and see how the grant turns out. We're just giving staff direction. I think that's what you asked for, right, was just staff direction.
Mhm.
So it's not really it's just that's the majority's.
Yep, okay,
Alright,
I think that's consistent with how the spirit of council's last couple of meeting on this, because I think it was unanimous to apply for this something.
yeah. Alright, let's move on. Trust fund. Housing trust fund.
Oh, coming up. Okay, so, when we did the Minnesota Housing, Partnership piece. One of the things that was suggested is, would you want to establish a housing trust fund? It's a new tool. And what it does is, generally, you can apply for up to $150,000 to match it. Your community creates its own type of guidelines. And really what you're just trying to stay within is to meet your own flexible needs. That's why you have your own community fund. It's dedicated, it's predictable, it leverages other grants. It's just something that if yours, it says $1 city trust fund invests, usually gets $6 in additional public and private funds. The county has its own trust fund at this point, but our city doesn't. Our HRA director advises that we get one. Some of the ways they're funded are through HRA levies, which I wouldn't recommend. TIF pooling, which is what the city financial advisor advised. So you could create one and just say that you're dedicating TIF pooling to it in the future. Or other types of housing related funds. Let's say that you sell these lots and you decide to dump a certain amount of money into them. The trust fund. But one of the things I wanted you to know is what's been happening since we went through that Minnesota Housing Partnership. Like I said, the county, Waukesha County created one. Winona County created one, but didn't have any funding, so they've just created their guidelines and they have it ready to be funded. And some of our other neighbors, I mentioned Winona. I think it was Red Wing has
Red
one.
Wing, yeah.
And what was the other? Rushford just created one and they wrote for the $150,000 grant and they did get it. So one of the things that I think you should know is when we talk, this is really primarily for education as well. When we talk about who do you reach with a housing trust fund, it's the 80% AMI, similar to your workforce housing apartment project, or the 115% AMI of home buyers. And when you are a home buyer at 115% AMI today, 2025, you're making $134,435 for your household. If you're a renter and you have two people, you're making $63,150 for the apartments. So if you use the housing trust fund as the way it's scheduled for the 80-115 formula, you're not helping people that are Section 8, you're helping people that are making $63,000 if they're renting, or $134,000 if they're a home. And then I did a calculation with interest rates and I'm like, you don't have debt, that's a $3,600 house payment. $134,000 of income if you don't have any debt. So I mean, these are really hardworking people that you're helping and you've seen that work well at EcoBasic. So you know that you've got history to kind of look back on. So for direction, I would just like to know if you would like begin working on what kind of funding we might use and what kind of guidelines, how we would want to use those projects. So you can let it go and continue to let it go. You don't have to do a housing trust fund, or you could say, let's start preparing ourselves to have our own housing trust fund. And I just would say that our HRA has advised that we should have one. So
I'll just add that we did apply for basically kind of something similar, which is grants to fund tier 2 projects. So they had guidelines. The target audience is builders or people in Waukesha that seek to build housing. So there may be, if we get funded, some lessons learned as we go through that could be kind of incorporated. Kathy, are these typically loans or grants or however?
a housing trust fund, you kind of want to revolve it if you
Okay.
can, so that you don't just take the money in once and use it, but that you use it over and over again. When the county had their applications out, they primarily wanted to see money coming back to them, but they wanted to help remodeling projects and help projects get funded, even if it was for a grant match, just so that they could see it come back somehow. And you could say, okay, well, I'll help this project, but then I'm going to have to recoup so much of it as you go through the finalized steps, and that you would do that through your own tax levies. Because now you'd be collecting taxes on something you didn't collect taxes on before. So, again, I think what you were saying, Caroline, were you trying to get to that fact that if we do get the tier 2 grant, we might have some lessons learned to help write the guidelines?
Just as we roll it out and see how it works.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we could put it off for a little bit.
You used housing trust fund in the past?
It's
like
new,
lacrosse?
it's new.
I tried to start one in lacrosse, but it was. I didn't ever try to launch it without a funding source, so.
And I don't know why no one did that, but they did. They don't have their funding source, but they really wanted to see
If we don't,
themselves.
they will know.
They kind of wanted to see their city participating and make a difference. But it's not a bad idea to wait a little bit, and see what the tier 2 housing,
If we get it.
if we get it, and if we use it, and if we don't, then we really need to start our own active, local leveraging.
Do you know what Wabash County is doing? Do they have money in theirs?
They did have money in theirs, and we originally wrote for some of it, and then we had to pull our request.
Their money was given to them through the state, though. I did ask, has Wabash County put their own funds into
Right.
it? And they have not. They've only, basically, every county was given grant money from the state of Minnesota, so they created kind of a housing trust fund in response to getting a grant from the state of Minnesota. And what we've redone and did is we're applying to the Minnesota for a chunk of money that we're then gonna redistribute in the city of Wabasha, but I think we wrote it like grants. But I think it could be open, we could look at, okay, maybe if we did this next time, it'd be a loan or something like that.
Yeah, we wrote it as like a revolving loan to assist with the tier 2. But with the 8115, it was pulled because we were really using it for river crossing over by Highway 60, and they didn't want to commit anything to those parcels yet. So that's why we pulled her out. And I want to bring up one other thing. It's nothing you can do this particular year, because if you live in the city of Wabasha and you have a specific project, or if you want to put it in a general housing fund, and we can apply for general housing fund money or very city specific, there is a trust fund using your own taxes. So let's just say Robin owes the state of Minnesota $8,000 this year. 85% of it can be brought right directly to city projects. You have to name them. They have to stay within that 8115, and they only allow up to $9 million to be done like that, and it goes fast.
That's pretty cool.
So by March of next year, they'll probably have 9
We're paying the
million.
taxes anyway, so if we can. instead of
Direct
giving
it
them
to
the
yourselves.
state, direct it to our city.
And that's called a housing trust fund tax credit. And you only have to say that you'll do $1,000, and it can't exceed 2 million. So there's a big putting in the 2 million, and then our whole state's only allowed to have 9 million. That's why it goes so fast. Because people want to see, they want to see housing, let's just say it was a business. They don't want to pay the state taxes and not know where it's gonna go if they could direct it to a state project of their own.
Who wouldn't? I don't see.
So we really need to keep our eye on that for 2026 and have a project in mind that we're dedicating that for. I would love to know if we could still go up to the general fund. I'm gonna check into this for anything that the Pillar Market.
Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
I think
Bye, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
if there's interest from the task force, not myself, to create the bones of a housing trust fund, knowing that we don't have funding yet, and we're gonna try to launch another program and it could be tweaked, like start a white paper. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just worry I guess I would struggle starting something that doesn't have a funding source, but then I guess you got the project laid out. So I almost see it as not like a detailed guidelines, but if we were to design it, here's what it would look like. But I just would want to notice, watch, like Dave and Ron, do you guys want, is there interest to work on that kind of thing? Cause I've been just myself, I am just trying to stay focused, but I even went and I said, oh my gosh, if we get this tier 2 money, it's gonna be all hands on deck to appropriately design it and get those funds out the door. And so we'll have to really be focused. I need Kathy's help with that, and so.
That's the question, Kathy.
Yeah, and this is 2 different things.
Right.
Just remember, one's the housing trust fund.
And one's the tax.
And one's a tax credit, and tax credit takes education. We just have to educate our community and have a project. Trust fund is, okay, we don't know what our projects are yet, but we wanna start having our own one for grant matches, for projects that are going on, for environmental testing, whatever the group decides, your city can decide what that flexible fund is for.
So if Rob and I decide we wanna we want our tax credit. And it's gonna be dedicated to a watershed specific project, do we need a trust fund or some other mechanism in place to receive that, or can it just be received?
No, we have to file with the state.
We just have to identify the project.
Okay, I remember, I knew you presented on that.
Yeah.
Identify a project and then,
And then I can say, instead of paying my state taxes, my Minnesota state taxes that I owe, I can say, okay, I owe $12,000 in state taxes, but I would like it to go to Watertown for the new blah. Why would I do that?
That's true.
Who wouldn't do that?
Well,
I mean,
this is the way.
like, Kathy said, you just have to educate the community.
Yeah.
Like,
so this is the way we
And we have to
can
pick
fund our
project-
ambulance hall.
things
for
are.
housing.
Oh, we have to pick a project.
For housing.
Oh, it's for housing, sorry.
Well, we can.
We can live in it.
Yeah.
Alright, let's,
That's moving.
Is it, oh, just towards housing. Oh,
okay,
Oh, okay.
so Kathy, what I'd ask, this is like way over here for me at this point, right? So I would ask that you talk to Watch and see what you guys think.
Yeah.
And how that would best work, because we've got the tier 2 that our luck will get it. So, no, I mean, you know how it goes, right? And
Getting your butts up on grants, thank you.
and so we gotta figure that out. So if this happens, then, you know, if that works well, then we have something to work on.
Yeah.
moving forward.
I think that's appropriate.
We'll
Make this a-
talk it
Yeah.
through.
Talk it through a little bit. Does that make sense, everybody?
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
where are we?
DNR mitigation response. Okay.
Take a breath.
Okay.
So there's some hope out there.
Oh, God.
There's some hope. So, okay, so attached to this, this agenda is to just study the fish habitat restoration at the Zumbro Slough is $49,900, so almost $50,000. So we, before getting that cost, Emily and I met with Lucas and went over all the options again, which I've described in my meeting notes. But what has since transpired is that when we met with Dietrich, we were trying to go over with him, the DNR asked they're gonna replace the bridge over there on Fourth Grant Boulevard. Could you make that bigger? And every time we've talked to Dietrich, he basically says, well, how much bigger? And we said, we don't know, just bigger. And enough to fit like a boat through. And he said, when you get, like, if it's needs to be taller and wider, you're looking at like creating a bridge and then needing to lift up the entire street, and that road floods on top of it.
Yeah.
So he was saying he's never been in favor of that. But then we were talking about the Highway 60 project, and he realized that there's an opportunity to expand the culvert that goes under Hiawatha, which is very, very small right now.
Mhm.
And that while we're doing the Highway 60 project, we could expand that and try to say to the DNR, that's gonna improve habitat.
Yeah.
So I think if they were to count that as our mitigation, it's already being planned.
I guess what are we mitigating?
We're mitigating
The loss of habitat.
The loss of
from-
habitat, the loss of habitat.
the loss of habitat when we're
No,
dredging,
talking about dredging,
dredging the
we gotta
river.
find
of
out
Armstrong.
what we're doing up there.
Yeah,
This is the like, choose your own adventure because you're doing dredge for Mississippi. Come up with a really
There you go.
impactful project that the state's not going to fund.
Yeah, so I was involved in moving mussel beds on another project, but they just moved them to another part of the river.
But-
That's
Do
not
that.
feasible.
Stillwater.
but yes.
We also have to do that.
So even if we do the project that we're gonna do anyways, we still have to pay to move mussels plus do a mussel take fee. If we participate in a mussel project, which would be taking our contract that we are gonna be doing to move mussels for our barge terminal, and perhaps working with Fish and Wildlife and the DNR to move mussels in a different part of the river that are gonna be impacted because of a different project. This is what's so ironic.
The state is doing a project
Yeah.
near the leading edge of Hershey Island. and they are taking mussels as a part of that project. And so they are gonna create some new chevroning at that leading edge to prevent erosion. And they let us know that in the long term, that rock work that they're placing, which will initially take mussels, will eventually provide a better habitat for mussels. So we can move our mussels
So we can
there.
swap mussels.
We can move our mussels there because of the impact of that project. And we can participate in that project if we'd like to pay for the chevroning.
And I also understood though, as a different option, we could move those modest mussels out of harm's way for them because they're not gonna get moved. They're
I
just gonna all
forgot
die.
about that, yeah.
Yes. So that's the project I kind of liked. We'll have to contract to move our mussels. Could we contract to move their mussels? That supposedly covers it all, supposedly.
I'm sorry, that's a core project. That's-
Yeah, it's a core project.
Okay.
So the
okay.
Corps didn't have to pay all these fees, so anyways, I think what's a challenge is we're getting out of our scope. So here's, let me just put it, so do we want to pursue the Zumbro Slough? I think unless we'd have to pay for a $50,000 study, then pay for spot dredging on top of that. But that may or may not be expensive. It depends on if that sand is contaminated or not, which Brian Malm says it's getting all the stormwater runoff and may be contaminated.
Or we'll find it contaminated.
That's option one, engage in spot dredging, which could become costly and require this $50,000 study. Option B is we negotiate with the DNR to say, we're gonna expand the culvert and pay all those mussel fees and follow your mussel fee thing, so we move mussels and we pay a mussel fee. Which adds up, it's not cheap,
Sounded great.
We're
or,
mixing, so the barge, the mussels from the barge project, that's what you're mixing.
so basically, we have to pay to move the mussels that are gonna be there.
The
We already
barge
have
project.
it in those.
Yes, plus a $60,000 fee for all the mussels that'll die when they're moved. Okay, yeah,
Trust me.
Got all?
Oh,
We can't make this conversation more. Yeah.
they're gonna die in road.
so you have to pay to move them, but also pay to
What about the fee?
There's a diver.
$250,000.
Yeah, and then just do it.
We're not.
And you're talking Mike Davis?
We haven't even, we just understood.
He's the guy that makes mussels for the DNR.
He's long retired.
Yeah, I'm sure, but just getting a better idea of what's gonna happen.
What's gonna happen?
What's feasible.
But with that 16,000, are they gonna buy the mussels somewhere?
They will pay to create mussel
mussel bed.
habitat, a mussel
So
bed.
they
There's
can,
a fee, they can do whatever they.
So the long and the short of this is there's a lot of moving parts, and really what staff is asking is that we kind of pare this down, Emily and myself,
Do you
and
guys, do you
and
wanna go
Caroline.
for the cheapest option, even though it has nothing to do with the city of Waukesha or our scope, but it's the cheapest option? Which I
Which is-
believe is paying for this mussel thing,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Chevron project, or do we want to say? We'll pay all those mussel fees and pursue the widening of the culvert?
Here's the problem, I am not convinced that any singular option is gonna be acceptable by the DNR. That is not
I
the
agree
impression
with
I'm
you.
getting. The impression I'm getting is everything that we ask about, they're like, yes, yes, and that, and that, and that, and that, but they don't want one thing, they want multiple things.
But I think in the action I said, authorize city administrator Emily Duran and John Friedmeier to complete these negotiations. So get some initial feedback from you guys today. And then we are gonna be authorized to just finalize this and we're just gonna, cause everyone's getting lost as I describe it to you. So I think the feedback is, what are our priorities? The cheapest option?
Right.
Or is the priorities an option that may be a little bit more, but ultimately benefits the city of Waukesha?
We're gonna have to widen the box.
Right.
Yes, anyways.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, and there's,
Because
the
you're.
thing is, in 20 years, there's gonna be no slough, it's gonna be a muddle. You look further back, it's just small.
Swamp in, yeah.
It's gonna be gone. Well,
So you do have to do some dredging
and
eventually.
there'll be no option in 10 to 20 years.
Caroline, if you guys pursue B, you can always do A later, can't you?
What do you?
A is the 50 grand on the spot dredging,
Well,
B is the.
So the problem is that the DNR is gonna want we're gonna do this and this, and they're gonna agree to that. You know what I mean?
If you really care about doing something at the slough, you could do it later, not because the DNR tells you, but because you want to.
But you have to get their permission.
I don't know.
I think we're,
Oh, yeah, they're in charge of everything.
And I think I saw something in there about, can the Corps help with that? No, we answered that
Yeah.
question, it's outside of their
I mean,
authority.
we're not gonna work.
And the other piece is that I have not given the sense that, and like, Lucas is the messenger, he's not the decision maker, but I'm getting the impression their planning activity doesn't check any of their boxes. It's
it's a due thing, it's a result.
It's mitigation is an action.
So do we have to, give you guys the authority to do this negotiating? I'll make a motion. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, motion in a second.
Yeah, I would definitely make a motion to put you three,
Okay,
Emily,
Just like-
yeah. Yeah, John, yeah, right? Caroline,
Yep.
to negotiate this on our behalf.
I got a first,
Second.
got a second. Any further discussion on this?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think messing with the slough would be opening a big can of worms as far as other contaminants, and I don't think that's the way to go. You're not going to improve any flow through there, never. There'll never be any flow through there.
No, I agree.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I appreciate that.
We will then, that will be our last option, and we'll continue to pursue.
And it's.
I think where it's looking at is widening the box culvert and paying these fees.
At the end of the meeting, well, I'll let you vote.
Yeah, so we got a first and a second, any other discussion?
Oh, one more thing Brian suggested. If all else fails, he's like, how much do you want? Just tell, what's the fee?
Yeah,
And then
that's-
the other thing that came up is, do we ask for the Coners to have a cost participation in this? They benefit from the dredging for their land, and like, do we say, whatever the cost is for the mitigation, Coners, we want you to be 50% on the cost for the mussel relocation and this mitigation. Cause you benefit as a company in terms of access to your, the land you owned.
Yeah.
That's part of your negotiating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Discussion.
Big-
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a big time factor.
All right, we have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed?
Aye.
Say no.
At the end of the meeting, which was very cordial, I really liked Lucas, but Caroline handled it very well, and so did Lucas, he re-explained everything for us, and we did have some light bulbs go on. Caroline said, well, Lucas, you know, thank you for your time and for explaining all this again to us. You really made every option clear. We don't like any of them.
Well, it's true.
You can totally hear you saying it. We all thought pretty much.
Thanks.
I don't know how you get anything
Yeah.
done.
Okay, yeah.
I hate to be in business.
The good old days when nobody cared about the mussels.
I know.
Well, you know, I think about this, like, even being in the restaurant business, like.
Yeah.
Couldn't do this
You
now.
can't-
Right,
Yeah.
it's just
Look at
everything's
that.
so governed,
Everything's-
it's just ridiculous.
Need a kitchen, I don't want to tell. Buy it. Keep it. That's a camera. No.
Alright,
Okay.
let's move on, we got more stuff to do and it's almost 7 o'clock already, people.
Yeah.
So Caroline, possible approval of final design costs for work on.
Okay, so.
This is
I'm
barge.
gonna just summarize this, cause it just came through, but all in all, the original price for the final design for the barge terminal was $149,400. And the request is to add $32,500. And again, I guess as costs are increasing. I'm again wondering about cost participation from the Coners, because we're buying the land. We said set to benefit, but they have also gotten paid through these winter hauls and stuff. And so the $30,000 is related to, let's break through it. So some of it's due to that site settlement, so there was a final geotechnical report that wasn't available, and so the settlement is requiring additional structural work, which we've talked about. Then there's some site configuration, and that seems related to changes that the Coners made later about how they wanted their equipment there, so it seems related to their work. So that's 15,700. So they've broken it out, I guess, per item. So the site seems like cost related to us. But in terms of engineering for all the different pieces of equipment seems related to what are the equipment that the Coners are gonna have, so that they, so there's, different related to,
So they have
Yeah.
to build a pad for their equipment or?
we're building the pad for the equipment that needs additional reinforcement. But then the Coners have changed throughout the meetings as they figure things out, what they need design, and so that has added costs. So they're saying it's 15,700 related to the site settlement. And then 11,500 related to the equipment stuff. So I think the 11,500 definitely seems to be related to the Coner equipment going there. But the site settlement was due to what was discovered during the geotechnical work.
Yep.
So.
So you're gonna have,
The other thing that was brought up, but I don't know if it's worth bringing up, is we are buying the land from the Coners for $250,000. Is it, is another way to go about it to say. I feel like let's make it clean and say, we'd like cost participation on these mitigation costs, and we'd like cost participation on these additional engineering costs related to what you requested. But
So our terminal group should probably get together and have a quick meeting on this.
yeah, I guess. Or I could send something in writing to the Coners, and then as they respond, we meet again.
I'm okay with that too. Guys okay with that?
yeah,
Requesting some participation.
Okay,
Definitely.
so in approving this, I think it would be approving the additional 32,500 with the request that the Coners pay for 11,500 of the total.
Okay, we need action on this.
We can also say, hey, this project is gone like higher and we'd like you to participate with 100%. I don't know what's fair, but.
how about? We paid 149.5 plus half of the 32,
Okay. Sounds good.
Is that your motion?
that's my motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Second? Any further discussion? We're empowering Caroline to send that letter and.
Yeah.
Move forward to negotiate that.
I think what we do wanna do is authorize, AMI to get started.
Yes,
And
we're doing that.
there's hours and hours and hours of work, so we can figure out the details of the payment later, so.
Yep. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Let's move on.
I think the childcare one Kathy covered already, so.
Yeah. We're good.
And then,
Small town grant.
You know what, Smith has a small town grant coming up, $10,000. I think Mary's indicated that they want to write to it for Main Street.
Yeah, we were looking for
Improvements.
small projects, and
Okay.
either that one or, our AARP, but this one will be easier to get, if we do the bench thing we talked about.
And then Con brought, so when you like a 504 loan for a business loan, their bank participates with a large organization to get those, and their bank participates with some organization called WBD. And they have an opportunity fund, and Con wanted us to see, he was just looking like, maybe he was looking at using this organization to, help fund the loan for the Anderson House, and he saw on the site they had opportunity funds. So they're required to do community funds. So you can apply right now up until the end of July for up to $50,000 for, as a nonprofit, for a community project. And I've written to them twice to see if the city could qualify. I brought it up to Jane at Three Rivers, like if you could put a second classroom and a bathroom together, that would be great. Here's this opportunity, you're the nonprofit, you'd be creating new entrepreneurs, that's one of the ways they'd like to see the money used. You would be a great qualifier, maybe even 2 applications, if they come back and say the city can use this. But I also, if you're on the Eagle Board, you know, go ahead and tell the National Eagle Center about this same grant opportunity. Because it didn't say they limited, they just said you had to go to a nonprofit, so many nonprofits have already applied for these funds.
But they can
So-
apply directly, they don't need to go through like this entity.
They do not, they apply directly as a nonprofit,
Good.
so Eagle Center should, Three Rivers should, and if we find that a city can. We may want it for revolving loan funds or matching grant funds, we just don't know yet if the city will qualify.
Okay. So more to come, although it's short-lived.
But it will be yearly, every.
Oh, year, okay, every year.
Apply. And then you guys knew about the budget, or budgeting, pass on to city council. That we generally, I mean, the last probably 3 years, there's been like 5% increase to contracts, and then the annual meeting is July 30th. So we kind of went over those items.
Comment? I think the 5% is kind of steep. Looking at what people are getting. Thinking half of that would be. Good.
Good luck with that.
That's not the market.
Yeah,
Say what's the market.
What did they give me, 4 to 7?
I'm hungry.
so we need to approve the increase, right?
No, you pass it on to council, well, you make a recommendation, so.
Well, no, all council approves is the port levy.
Yeah.
So we will, that's the debate. This body approves the CETA contract.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I guess we are. I guess I don't know that we have a lot of choice in the matter.
I guess we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
It's sort of
I
like
think-
going to the grocery store,
Kathy, I
and
think
saying, it's
you're-
ridiculous to pay this much for.
Kathy, I
They don't
think you
care.
guys are gonna just give us the contract and the question will be, do we continue 2 days a week at
And
this
you'll
price?
Get that in December.
Yeah.
He's just giving you a heads up.
Yep.
So that you can plan your levy.
So the port has never actually done a budget for itself. It may be time as it becomes more complex, but we just approved that amount and Tyler and I have done cost projections, so.
Just one more thing to do.
Yeah.
We'll wait till Tyler
we
gets back.
Probably should start
We do.
doing our own budget.
All right,
Okay.
that is it. That's a lot.
I just have
Not a chance.
I'm away the 10th and 16th.
Yeah.
So
Good
we
for
have a
you.
meeting on the 16th. I will not be at the meeting on the
Okay.
15th. Because I'm away for the 16th. Did you say you're away too?
I am, yeah.
Here. I think you
Okay.
just come back, Caroline.
All you people going places.
No,
Not
summer.
during the summer, that's when I can't go.
And, so I just wanted to know that.
Okay. Well, safe travels, everyone. We need a motion to adjourn.
So
First, second,
I'll second.
got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, say no. There you go. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, jump it, adjourn.
Bye, Jeff.